My mother gave my entire college fund to my sister so she could have a bigger wedding with more guests. She expected me to just be happy for her and move on. I wasn't. Now she needs a favor from me and I keep forgetting to call her back. So this is the story of how my mother gave away my entire college fund so my sister could have a Pinterest-perfect wedding with 250 guests she barely knew, and how karma eventually came back around when she needed something from me. I'm 28 now, but this whole mess started when I was 18 and my sister Emily was 22. For context, Emily has always been the golden child in our family, not in the subtle way where parents try to hide it. No, this was full spotlight, red carpet, standing ovation treatment since we were kids. She was the firstborn, the daughter my mom always wanted, and apparently that meant she could do no wrong. I, on the other hand, was basically an afterthought with a pulse. I made honor roll every semester through high school while working weekends at a pharmacy to save money. My reward was a "that's nice, honey," and maybe a pat on the head. Emily barely passed her classes, and my mom threw her a graduation party that cost more than my used car. The favoritism was so obvious that even our neighbors noticed. Mrs. Patterson next door once asked me if I was adopted because she never saw my parents at any of my school events. Nope, just the spare kid. My parents had set up college funds for both of us when we were born. My grandpa on my dad's side had insisted on it before he died. He even put it in his will that a portion of his estate had to go into education funds for his grandkids. Smart man. He knew my mom's spending habits could fund a small country's GDP if left unchecked. By the time I graduated high school, my fund had grown to about $85,000. Not enough to cover everything at a big university, but enough for a state school with maybe some part-time work. I had my whole plan mapped out. State university, accounting degree, graduate in 4 years, get my CPA, build a real career. Emily's fund was roughly the same. She went to community college for 2 years while living at home, then transferred to a state school and graduated with a communications degree. She'd used about half her fund. The rest just sat there earning interest. Then she met Ryan. Ryan was about as interesting as dry toast, but he had a decent job at a bank and came from a comfortable family. Country club members. Annual Europe trips. Not rich, but enough for Emily to see dollar signs. They dated for 8 months before Ryan proposed. My mom lost her mind. She started planning the wedding before Emily even got the ring resized. Pinterest boards, vendor meetings, venue tours, the whole production. My mom treated it like a royal wedding instead of her daughter marrying a guy whose most interesting trait was his golf handicap. The wedding planning took over the house. Fabric swatches everywhere. Wedding magazines in every bathroom. My mom on the phone with vendors at all hours, having unofficially appointed herself wedding coordinator. Emily was more than happy to let her run wild. Meanwhile, I was finishing my senior year of high school, finalizing college plans and financial aid. I'd been accepted to 3 state schools. I'd visited campus, met with financial aid, and had my 4-year plan sketched out. One night in March, my mom asked me to come into the living room for a family discussion. Those words never lead to good news. I walked in to find my mom and Emily sitting on the couch with serious faces. My dad wasn't there, which should have been my first red flag. He had a talent for disappearing whenever uncomfortable conversations were about to happen. My mom started with, "You know we love you both equally," which is exactly what parents say right before proving they don't. My mom went on about how weddings are important life milestones and how she wanted to make sure Emily had the wedding of her dreams. Then she dropped the bomb. Emily wanted to upgrade the wedding. Instead of the original 100-person ceremony, she wanted 250 guests at a luxury venue with a full dinner reception, open bar, live band, and every expensive detail imaginable. The original budget had been around $30,000. The new dream wedding budget? Try $95,000. I sat there doing the math in my head, already knowing where this was going but still hoping I was wrong. Ryan's parents were contributing $25,000. My parents had saved about $15,000 for wedding expenses. That left a very large gap. Then my mom said the words I will remember for the rest of my life. "We've decided to use your college fund to cover the rest of the wedding costs." She added quickly, "Emily's education fund will be used too, But since she's already graduated, we thought it made sense to invest in her future this way instead. I just stared at her. You're taking my college fund? All of it. Not all of it, my mom said, like that made it better. We'll leave you about $5,000 for your first semester, and you can get loans for the rest. Lots of students do. It's very normal. Emily jumped in with her sweetest voice. You're smart and young. You'll pay it off easily with your salary after you graduate. I asked if Emily was contributing any of her own savings. She'd been working for almost a year since graduating. My mom got defensive immediately. Emily has expenses. She's saving for her future with Ryan. They'll need money for a house and furniture. It wouldn't be fair to expect her to drain her savings for one day. But it was apparently fair to drain my entire future. I tried to argue. I showed them my financial aid packages and explained the math. With my college fund, I'd graduate with maybe $20,000 in loans. Without it, I'd be looking at over $80,000 before interest. My mom waved it off. You'll get scholarships. You're a good student. Emily didn't have those advantages. Emily didn't have those advantages because she barely maintained a C average and never tried. But saying that would have made me the villain. The conversation went in circles for an hour. Every argument I made was met with guilt. I was selfish. I didn't want my sister to be happy. Family supports each other. That's when I said it. You know this is illegal, right? My mom sighed. Don't be dramatic. Emily laughed. It's family money. No one's going to jail over a wedding. I said the money was legally earmarked for education. My mom waved it off. You're young. You don't understand how these things work. I did understand. I just didn't have any power. That's when I realized I'd already lost. This wasn't a discussion. It was an announcement. They'd likely already promised the money to vendors. I stood up, went to my room, and closed the door. I could hear my mom telling Emily I'd come around, that I was being dramatic. The next day, I checked my bank account. I had about $3,000 saved from 2 years of weekend shifts at the pharmacy. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I opened a new account at a different bank and transferred every penny. I didn't trust that it wouldn't somehow disappear too. I spent the next 2 weeks applying for every scholarship and grant I could find. I met with the financial aid counselor 3 times. They were sympathetic but honest. I was looking at serious loans. When I got a few small scholarships, my mom acted confused about why I was still upset. In her mind, she'd solved the problem. She left me $5,000. What more did I want? That's when I told them I wasn't going to the wedding. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just said it calmly. I'm not going. They assumed I'd change my mind. They pushed. Family dinners. Guilt trips. Silence. Then guilt again. I didn't budge. Wedding planning completely consumed the house. Every day it was about centerpieces, dress fittings, menu tastings, and invitation designs. My mom was in heaven, living vicariously through Emily's big day. They went to bridal shows, had mother-daughter spa days, and spent hours on the phone with vendors. I worked extra shifts at the pharmacy, saving every dollar I could. When I wasn't working, I was in my room studying or figuring out how to minimize college costs. I decided to take full course loads every semester, including summers, so I could graduate in 3 years instead of 4. It would be brutal, but it would save money. Nobody noticed how quiet I'd become. About a month before the wedding, Emily cornered me in the kitchen. She was excited about some overpriced wedding favors and started showing me pictures. Then she said, "You know I really appreciate this, right? The sacrifice you're making for me." I just stared at her. "You understand why it's important," she continued. "This wedding sets the tone for our marriage. Ryan's family has expectations." I said, "It would say you live within your means." She rolled her eyes. "It's just money. You'll make more. I only get 1 wedding day." That's when I realized she truly didn't understand what had been taken from me. To her, it was abstract, replaceable. To me, it was years of debt and stress. After that, I stopped engaging. When my mom asked me to help plan, I disappeared. That earned me more guilt trips, but I didn't care anymore. On the day of the wedding, I was at work. I muted my phone. I heard about it from my cousin the next day. She said it was exactly as ridiculous as I'd expect. A string quartet at the ceremony. A 12-piece band at the reception. A photo booth, candy bar, 3 entree choices, and an open bar with top-shelf everything. She counted around 240 guests. I knew maybe 30 of them. My mom spent the entire night bragging about how elegant everything was, how much thought went into every detail, how Emily deserved only the best. The couple's first dance was to a song performed live by an artist they hired specifically for that moment. That performance alone cost around $12,000. Roughly 1 semester of tuition for me. People asked why I wasn't there. My parents told them I had food poisoning and didn't want to ruin the day. I went home after work and finalized my financial aid paperwork. That part bothered me, the lie. So I started calling family members and telling them the truth. Calmly. That the money meant for my education had been used for the wedding. Some sided with my parents immediately. Others went quiet. The next holiday was awkward. My mom screamed at me over dinner for airing dirty laundry. I said, "So stealing from your kid is fine, but talking about it isn't?" She had no response. I moved into the cheapest dorm option, got a work-study job at the library, and kept my weekend shifts at the pharmacy. My schedule was relentless. Classes, studying, work, repeat. While other freshmen joined clubs and went to parties, I worked to keep my scholarships. One week, all I ate was peanut butter sandwiches because a textbook wiped out my food budget. My mom would call to ask how school was going, then talk about Emily and Ryan's furniture, vacations, and married life. She never asked about money. When she complained that I never visited, I always answered the same way. I'm working 3 jobs to pay for college, since my college fund is gone. She hated that answer. Spring break, I stayed on campus and worked double shifts. Emily posted pictures from the Bahamas. My mom commented hearts on every photo. Sophomore year, I maintained a 3.7 GPA while working and taking summer classes. I lived in the cheapest summer housing. No AC, shared bathrooms, constant noise, but it saved money. I lost 15 pounds that summer. Emily went to Italy for her anniversary. Nobody asked how I was doing. Junior year, I did the math. The wedding cost about $95,000. The flowers alone were $8,000. A full semester of tuition. The photographer cost $4,500. The video package was $3,200. The ice sculpture was $600. Party favors nearly $1,000. Every dollar could have changed my life. Instead, it bought memories nobody revisited. Something shifted that year. I stopped being bitter and started using it as fuel. I graduated in 3 years with a 3.8 GPA. Passed all 4 CPA exams on my first try. Had 3 job offers before graduation. My mom tried to attend my graduation. I never sent an invite. She texted me, "You're selfish." I replied, "College fund." I took a job at a mid-sized accounting firm with student loan assistance. I lived cheaply and paid aggressively. Year 1, $12,000. Year 2, $13,000. Year 3, $15,000. Each payment felt like reclaiming something stolen. Meanwhile, Emily and Ryan bought a house, traveled, and lived well. My mom sent me photos, proud of how Emily was doing so well. I kept my distance. 5 years after I graduated, I was well into my routine. Work, modest living, aggressive loan payments. I'd paid down around $45,000 of principal and was on track to be debt-free in another 5 years. That's when my mom called with news she clearly didn't expect to be delivering. Emily and Ryan were getting divorced. Apparently, the fairy tale marriage that required a near 6-figure wedding had lasted just over 4 years. Ryan had been having an affair with someone from work. Emily had been spending faster than they could earn, and they were drowning in credit card debt. They'd bought a house they couldn't afford, financed cars at terrible rates, and furnished everything on payment plans. Trips, dinners, lifestyle, all on credit. The house was underwater. They had over $60,000 in credit card debt between them. Emily was moving back in with my parents. My mom sounded shocked, like she couldn't understand how this had happened. Her perfect daughter's perfect marriage had collapsed. The irony wasn't lost on me. That wedding, the one that cost my education, launched a marriage that didn't even make it to a 5th anniversary. My mom cried and said Emily needed family support. She asked if I could help Emily with some money. Just a small loan. Maybe $2,000 for first and last month's rent. I said I couldn't. That was apparently the wrong answer. My mom launched into a speech about how family helps family. How Emily had been through so much. How cold I was being. I listened. Then I asked one question. Did Emily ever pay back the college fund she used for her wedding? Silence. Then my mom tried to pivot. That was different. It was years ago. I needed to let it go. You're right, I said. It was years ago. Years where I worked myself half to death to pay for an education that was supposed to be funded. I reminded her about the student loans. The ones I wouldn't have if my college fund hadn't been spent on ice sculptures and live music. She called me petty. I said I was being realistic. Then I ended the call. For about a year, things were frosty. Emily eventually got a small apartment and an admin job. The divorce finalized. They sold the house at a loss. Emily walked away with almost nothing. I kept working, got promoted, kept paying loans. My life wasn't exciting, but it was stable. And it was mine. Then 6 months ago, my mom called again. This time about herself. My dad had retired, but it turned out he'd made some terrible investment decisions. A former colleague had pitched him what was basically a scam. He'd invested around $40,000 of their retirement savings and lost nearly all of it. They weren't destitute, but their comfortable retirement suddenly wasn't so comfortable. My mom asked if I could help them out. She didn't say how much, but it sounded like real money. I said I'd need to think about it and check my finances. I did think about it. For about 30 seconds. Then I didn't call her back. Here's the thing, I wasn't struggling anymore. I was doing well. And instead of helping, I started spending. I bought a car I didn't need. Took trips. Bought toys. Posted everything online. Every time they asked for help, I gave the same answer. I'm still paying off my college fund. They hated that sentence. The messages got longer and more detailed. How stressed they were. How they might have to sell the house. How my mom never thought her son would abandon her like this. Not once did she acknowledge the irony. One voicemail stood out. She talked about how family sticks together and how she'd sacrificed so much for me growing up. That's when she snapped. You clearly have money, she said. You're traveling. You bought a new car. I replied, you know, a car is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Pause. Like a wedding. Then I added, by the way, how's that marriage going? She hung up. After that, she tried a softer approach. Calling just to chat. Asking to go to lunch. I said I'd check my schedule. I never did. Month 5, she sent a carefully written email with bullet points and financial breakdowns. Even mentioned inheritance. Something I'd never heard about until she needed money from me. I didn't respond. Month 6, she brought Emily into it. A 3-way call. Guilt. Logic. Emotional appeals. I stayed calm. No promises. No timeline. After the call, I went back to watching TV. I remembered working 3 jobs. Ramen dinners. Missing out on everything. Not once did my mom call to ask if I was okay. So now, when my mom calls, I see her name pop up and think, I should call her back. Then I forget. Laundry. Emails. Anything else. Last week she left another voicemail. Crying. Saying she didn't understand why I was being so cruel. I saved it. Sometimes I think about calling her and laying it all out. But that would give her the confrontation she wants. So instead, I keep forgetting. Emily called yesterday, angry this time. Said I was petty. I asked if she still had any of the college fund money left. She said that was beside the point. I said it was exactly the point. Then I ended the call. My mom texted me this morning. Please call me. We really need to talk. I'm your mother. I read it. Thought about replying. Then work distracted me and I forgot. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. They taught me a lesson early in life. Money comes and goes. Support doesn't. So now I spend my money the way they taught me to. On myself.